All right, today we're jumping into the story of a French wine giant, a region so massive it was once famous for just one thing: quantity. But that story is changing, and it's changing fast. This is the incredible reinvention of Languedoc-Roussillon.
So let's start with a single, massive number: 1/3. I mean, think about that. 1 out of every 3 bottles of all French wine comes from this one single region. By a long shot, it is the country's largest vineyard. Which, of course, begs the question, if it's cranking out that much wine, why isn't it a household name like Bordeaux or Burgundy? Well, the answer to that takes us on this fantastic journey from a so-called wine lake of simple table wine to a modern powerhouse of incredible quality and, get this, value.
So first things first, we need to wrap our heads around just how massive this place is. Before all this reinvention, this region was a titan of volume. I mean, for centuries, it was the engine room of French wine production.
To put that number into perspective, 200,000 hectares is almost double the size of Bordeaux's vineyards. So for literally centuries, the game here was all about scale. We're talking about churning out huge volumes of mass-market, everyday wine. It was, reliable, it was affordable, but nobody was calling it fine wine.
So what happened? How does a whole region, a giant one at that, just flip the script from quantity to quality? Well, the story here is all about these huge, dramatic turning points, crises really, that basically force them to reinvent themselves completely.
And this timeline, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? You can see the whole story here, the booms and the busts. You see the ancient Roman roots, the big production boom from trade routes. But look at that last part, that 20th century crisis of overproduction. That's the real turning point. That's what forced this modern renaissance, this huge shift away from just filling bottles to putting something unique and high quality inside them.
So where did they find the secret to this reinvention? Well, it was right under their feet the whole time. The secret weapon for Languedoc-Roussillon is its absolutely incredible diversity. You gotta understand, this isn't just one big flat vineyard. Oh no, it's more like a complex, beautiful mosaic of different soils and different microclimates.
So let's look at the first piece of our mosaic, schist. This stuff is this dark, flaky rock that just soaks up the sun's heat. It makes the vines work really, really hard, forcing their roots to dig super deep for water. And what you get from that struggle is a wine with this amazing mineral backbone, and sometimes even this smoky, savory thing going on. It's fantastic. Okay, next piece of the puzzle, limestone. You find this in places like Corbières and Minervois, and it's a real hero in a hot climate because it's great at holding on to moisture. Plus, all that calcium gives the wines this wonderful structure and freshness. It really brings out that minerality.
And you can't forget about clay, another crucial piece. Clay is heavy, it holds water like a sponge, which is a massive advantage during those dry Mediterranean summers. You get these powerful, structured wines from clay soils, deep color, lots of body.
Okay, now this is where it gets really cool. This slide shows that mosaic idea in action. Take a look at 2 areas, Corbières and Fougères. They're right next to each other, and both are known for that schist soil we just talked about, but the wines are totally different. Why? Well, Corbières has bits of limestone, and Fougères gets this cooler influence from the mountains. It's the perfect example of how just a few small differences in terroir can create 2 completely unique styles of wine.
So all this amazing, diverse land basically handed a new generation of winemakers an incredible new palette to paint with. It let them shift their focus away from the old high-yield grapes and start playing with grapes that could really show off the character of the place.
And this slide, this gets right to the heart of that quality revolution. For decades, the workhorse grape was Carignan. It gives you a ton of grapes, but the wine can be a bit rustic. But now, the rock stars are the classic Mediterranean trio, Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvèdre, or GSM as you'll often hear it called. You get that juicy red fruit from Grenache, the spicy, peppery backbone from Syrah, and that deep, earthy complexity from Mourvèdre. This blend is the signature of the new Languedoc. And hey, don't think for a second this is just a red wine story. The white wines coming out of here now are absolutely incredible. You've got Picpoul, which is so zesty and saline it's like a splash of sea breeze in your glass, perfect for seafood. Then there's the more serious complex Roussanne that can actually age beautifully, and of course the super aromatic and refreshing Vermentino. They're really showing off a whole different side of the Mediterranean.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but what does it actually mean for you when you've got a glass in your hand? What does this great reinvention actually taste like? Let's forget everything you thought you knew and talk about what's in the glass today.
All right, think of this as your cheat sheet. The reds, they're just bursting with ripe blackberry, cherry, and that classic smell of garrigue, the wild rosemary and thyme that grows all over the hillsides there. The whites are super crisp, mineral-driven. You can almost taste the sunshine in the sea. And the rosés are just bright, dry, and vibrant. The sheer variety is amazing.
And here it is. This is the bottom line, the big takeaway for all of us. Because this region is still kind of flying under the radar and shaking off that old reputation, you get all the complexity, all the history, all the quality of a top-tier French wine, but for a fraction of the price of the big names. Seriously, right now, it's probably one of the best bang-for-your-buck wine regions in the entire world.
So there you have it. The world's biggest vineyard is reinventing itself before our very eyes. We've seen the epic journey from this giant of quantity to a true mosaic of quality, all thanks to incredible soils and a new wave of passionate winemakers. The old giant isn't sleeping anymore. It's wide awake with a totally new purpose. Really, the only thing left to do is to go out and discover these amazing, character-filled wines for yourself.